Sino?
The film opens with a young girl at school who, according to some of her classmates, must sing "Mary Had a Little Lamb" into a tape recorder every night in the science hall if she wishes to be their friend. The girl is startled to hear someone singing along with her while she sings, and then someone assaults her out of nowhere. Next, we meet Faith and her buddy Karen, whom we met in 1993 at Regina Chelly Academy. Karen warns Faith not to mention her name at school because of an urban legend that happened there. Next, she reveals that her real name was Mary Cherry Chua. Mary Cherry Chua shone like a star in 1965. She worked really hard and was always first in her class. The discovery of her body near the pool therefore shocked everyone. The investigation led to the conviction of a former school caretaker who was given a life sentence for the rape and murder of the victim. His death in prison occurred 2 years ago. A large portion of the student body holds the belief that Mary's soul is haunting the campus in search of retribution. Next, we see Karen and Faith performing a ceremony by the poolside in order to reach Mary. Faith is told by Karen to keep her eyes closed and not to let go, no matter what. Karen detects Mary's presence when she and Mary close their eyes and Karen cries out her name 3 times. But Faith becomes nervous, her breathing becomes labored, and she suddenly pulls her hand away. Faith is nowhere to be seen when Karen opens her eyes. She later finds Faith unconscious in the pool. Karen loses the rest of her school year due to her behavior, which results in her expulsion. On the other hand, she is permitted to move on to the second year after obtaining a severe final warning and receiving passing grades. Warning her not to do it again, her sister Lena stresses that this is her final chance. Karen goes back to school the next day and tries to strike up a discussion with Faith, but Faith is uninterested. Mr. Manzano, their instructor, finally takes a moment to introduce himself to the students. Having taught English literature at Regina Chelly Academy for the last 5 years, he reveals that he graduated in the 1960s. Karen goes up to Faith after class and asks if they can work on the term paper together in an effort to repair their relationship. But Faith tells her she's in a committed relationship already. After Karen suggests reading scary stories together, Faith responds with "maybe next time" before she abruptly exits the room. Along with 2 other classmates from Regina Chelly Academy, Lena tried to get in touch with Mary Cherry Chua in 1987. Lena eventually figures out that Mary has shown up. We observe her ghostly figure behind one of the girls, and she herself puts her palm on the glass. If her murderer has been apprehended, Lena wonders why she persists in being in this place. Lena asks her what she wants, and the glass moves to no, suggesting a negative response. The response spelled out is justice. Suddenly, the class is cut short as the instructor tells the remaining girls to vacate the premises. After requesting Lena to accompany her outside, she scolds Lena, stressing that Catholic schools do not permit the possession of such objects. When she questions Lena about her obsession with Mary Cherry Chua, Lena explains that she met Mary and that Mary told her that justice had not been served. She is warned not to speak about this to anybody or face not graduating, and the teacher urges her to assist the school community in moving past this nightmare. Now we're back in the present when Karen says that Mary Cherry Chua's strange death will be the subject of her term paper. The class has been informed by Mr. Manzano that the matter involving the unfortunate death of Mary, a former student at the school, has been closed. The janitor was initially charged with her murder. She brings up the fact that even though the case has been closed, stories about Mary still haunt the school, and she wonders Mr. Manzano if justice has really been served. Perhaps her spirit is still among us, seeking redress. She claims to have the information necessary to solve the riddles surrounding her untimely demise. After Mr. Manzano gives his stamp of approval to Karen's topic selection, he pairs her up with Martinez, the class bully. Karen explains her interest in becoming an investigative journalist as her response to Mr. Manzano's question on why she wants to study this subject in particular. In their time together by the pool, Karen tells Martinez that she wants to make up for the fact that she didn't get the chance to introduce herself or say goodbye to Mary the last time they spoke, and that's why they're here. Martinez leaves Karen all by himself after making excuses and walking away. Unfazed, Karen continues with her solitary routine of reaching out to Mary. while Faith, hidden from view, stands nearby, watching. As a friend who, like Karen, desires justice, Karen introduces herself to Mary. In order to retrieve Mary's batch of images from the library's archives, Karen makes her way there. As her teacher goes inside to get the photos, Karen starts going through some files there. However, a cloth-covered mannequin seems to be moving. Her teacher reappears out of nowhere with the files and tells her to go inside and get the rest of the images. Karen finds an album that features a picture of Mary wearing a cross. She is taken aback when the mannequin's cover falls off, prompting her to question Karen's motives. But without uttering a word, Karen slips the picture inside her bag and departs. When she gets to Manzano, she shows him the photo and asks why Mary's face is cropped. Regina Chelly is left to ponder whether the school is attempting to obliterate Mary from her background. Even during his time, Manzano acknowledges it was taboo to talk about Mary. Presenting him with a newspaper piece, Karen informs him that the school caretaker Emilio Baldonado is facing charges related to Mary's murder. Baldonado, the article states, was given a life sentence, but insisted he was innocent right up until the day he died 2 years ago. She continues by saying that several kids asserted to have had contact with Mary 6 years ago. Mary reportedly wanted justice and that her perpetrator was still at large, according to their testimony. The real murderer of Mary might still be out there, according to Karen, so they should talk to Mary to find out. Manzano agrees to support Karen despite his concerns about the potential danger to the school posed by their attempt to communicate with the dead. If Mary decides to go this route, he offers to accompany Karen in chatting with Mary and suggests that they conduct interviews first. Karen faces opposition from former school employees and teachers when she brings up her paper on Mary Cherry Chua's death and her attempts to collect information regarding the case during her interviews. Without exception, they all attempt to sidestep the subject and flat out refuse to budge. Karen informs her later on that no one is interested in answering her inquiries regarding Mary Cherry Chua, and she experiences a moment of trust. In the meantime, as one of the pupils is sweeping the classroom, the other writes off Mary Cherry Chua as nothing more than a story. When they look around the classroom and see that no one else is there, they run screaming out of the room in horror. They heard someone crying in the background. We later witness Mary's spectre standing behind Karen as she sits by the pool and vents her aggravation that no one is ready to talk about Mary's case. As Karen draws near Mary, the spectre shifts her head, and then she hears sobbing. She also feels Mary's presence. After that, Karen has a vision that breaks her sleep and causes her to cry. Martinez tells Manzano the following day that Karen is anxious and stressed out due to the teacher's lack of cooperation and complete avoidance of her. In the meantime, one of the educators feels Mary's hand on her shoulder, but when she looks back, there is no one. She visits the loo in an attempt to calm herself, but is shocked to see the ghost of Mary resting on her shoulder. Conversely, an employee volunteers to conduct an off-the-record interview with Karen. Miss Estrella, who lives at the elderly home across the street from the school, is someone she brings up. While Mary Cherry was a student at Regina Chelly, Miss Estrella was an advisor for her class. She keeps her fingers crossed that Karen can still get some information out of her. As Karen draws up, she sees Martinez sitting alone and looking downcast. He tells her that he was supposed to play in a huge match today, but his teammates made him go get water, and the bus had already departed without him when he got back. By implying that she, too, would have avoided the badly treated team if she were in his shoes, Karen tries to reassure him. While taking her test the following day, Karen sees a shattered sheet of paper whizzing towards her. The words, "Don't look behind you," are scrawled on it, which surprises her when she takes it up. Mary Cherry Chua is hanging over her when she turns around to see blood spilling on the sheet. At a later time, Karen approaches Faith and confides in her, saying that she saw Mary. Karen maintains her recognition of Mary and her belief that she is attempting to convey a message, even while Faith tries to depart. Karen stops Faith from leaving, and in a surprising revelation, she reveals that her grandpa, Emilio Baldonado, was the rapist who raped Mary. He insisted time and time again that he was innocent of any wrongdoing whenever they visited him. She is adamant about finding out what happened to Mary since she thinks her grandfather is innocent. Martinez is being questioned by Manzano over his work with Karen in the meanwhile. According to Martinez, Karen informed him that she observed Mary's neck bound. She is now leaving to follow a lead that could lead to Mary's rescue, but she did not ask him to come with her. The school security guard finds a student remaining on campus later that night and wonders why she's lingering. But to his surprise, he sees the girl start circling the school balcony and then disappear behind him. Miss Estrella is visited by Karen and Faith the following day, who formally introduce themselves. After that, Karen wants to know if Miss Estrella knows Mary Chua, and Miss Estrella says that Mary was an honor student of hers. Miss Estrella recalls a time when Mary and a boy named Aka would playfully taunt one another, with Miss Estrella insinuating that the two were romantically involved due to their constant companionship. When Karen still doesn't recall what happened to Mary, she questions Miss Estrella about it. A solemn memory of the time she discovered Mary laying unconscious comes to Miss Estrella, and she also remembers seeing the caretaker Emilio by her side. As she tries to make sense of Emilio's actions against Mary, she is overcome with shock and grief. Concerned by Miss Estrella's certainty that Emilio murdered Mary, Karen questions her. But Estrella stays quiet because of her dementia. At the same time, the principal of the school confronts Manzano about permitting a pupil to research and deliberate over an issue that has already been resolved. Assuring him that Karen will not find anything new, Manzano says that nobody at the school is helping her. But the headmaster is worried that if Miss Estrella says anything bad during her interview with Karen, it will reflect poorly on the school. The following day, as Karen is scouring the library for information to include in her term paper, a sheet of paper unexpectedly falls from her desk. Karen pursues it in her curiosity, and she finds Mary standing in a corner of the library, where she is frightened. As her fear grows, Karen tries to turn a blind eye to Mary. Still, Mary approaches despite her best efforts to keep her distance, and then, out of nowhere, she shuts her mouth and yanks her away. Karen eventually comes to and notices a book on her desk when she comes to again. She opens the book and finds a note written by Mary hidden inside. The specter of Mary materializes right in front of Karen. As soon as she gets back to her class, Manzano tells the students that they won't be turning in term papers, but rather short tales and poetry. When Karen wants to know how their subjects are progressing, she raises her hand and asks. He then tells the students to turn in their ongoing projects, and he will evaluate them based on his assessment. While chatting with Karen after class, Martinez mentions that he has something to tell her regarding Manzano. In the future, Karen visits Manzano to inquire about the incident. After hearing rumors about Mary Cherry Chua circulating throughout campus, the principal approached Manzano. According to Manzano, he wonders if Karen is seriously under the impression that the school administration would never find out that she spoke with a dementia patient about Mary. "Why didn't you tell me about these things?" he demands of her. She assures him that she has discovered something fresh and will follow her heart regardless of the consequences. Then she reveals to him that Aka was responsible for Mary's pregnancy by showing him the letter she discovered in the library. Karen stresses that they must discover a means of communicating with Mary since she is the only one who can give them the answers they are seeking. Manzano proposes that they attempt to speak with Mary in private tomorrow because it is a weekend and there will be fewer customers at Regina Chelly. Afterwards, Karen and her sister Lena have a fight because Lena is furious at Karen for being preoccupied with Mary Cherry Chua. According to Karen, Mary appeared to her, and she thinks Mary has a message for Lena. Karen is warned by Lena that she is in over her head and that she should disregard her assertions as ridiculous. Karen retorts that she is not a weakling like Lena, who stood by and let their grandpa's killers go free. Lena should have sought justice with the power she had, but Karen feels bad that she didn't. After losing her grandfather, Lena says she can't bear to think about losing her sister as well. Karen, sensing her sister's worry, informs Lena that tomorrow is her final opportunity and begs her not to interfere with her pursuit of this opportunity. Manzano and Karen are spotted at school, the following day getting ready to talk to Mary Cherry Chua. "Keep your eyes closed and hold on no matter what happens," Karen tells him. She then calls out to Mary, and after some time has passed, she informs Mary that she and Aka are both here. When Manzano interrupts to find out what she's talking about, Karen spills the beans. Manzano lied and claimed he wasn't in the same batch as Mary. He lied and is here to find out whether Mary is actually pregnant. Before he murdered Mary, he was the biological father of her unborn child. Out of nowhere, Manzano assaults her, knocking her unconscious. Martinez spots him as he starts to drag her away. When Karen eventually comes to, she discovers Estrella standing before her, and she verifies that she is the one who paid her a visit. And now we know Manzano is Estrella's son. After Estrella begs him to murder Karen in the same way he murdered Mary, he insists it was an accident and denies ever killing Mary. We learn this in a flashback that Mary was ready to tell Aka she was pregnant when he pushed her, sending her plummeting to her death in the pool. After Estrella asked him to bring Mary's corpse to the pool in order to make it appear like a suicide, he complied, and Estrella then implicated Emilio, Karen's grandfather, in the crime. Karen is infuriated by this new information and accuses Manzano of murdering both Mary and the unborn child. Estrella finds out about Mary's pregnancy with astonishment, and Manzano smacks her to keep her quiet. In the meanwhile, Faith and Lena find Martinez bound and gagged in a classroom upon their arrival to the school in their quest for Karen. Lena rushes into the classroom to help him, but he flees in terror the second she sets him free. Nevertheless, he swiftly comes back to warn them that Karen's safety is at risk. Manzano, meantime, is about to hang Karen when she kicks him, which she uses to her advantage and ends up hanging him instead. When Estrella steps in to help, Karen pushes her, inadvertently stabbing her. Estrella rescues Manzano despite her wounds. Her sister and friends show up just in time to hang Manzano once again as he tries to attack Karen. As time passes, Manzano notices Mary standing before him and quickly apologizes, saying he was unaware. It becomes clear that Manzano has died as Mary hugs him and comforts him. Afterwards, Faith finds Karen and tells her that she passed away that very day. Despite her best efforts, Faith can't abandon Karen while she's still in need of her. Karen tells Faith she's sorry, but Faith tells her she won't ever regret what happened. After a long, sincere embrace, Faith vanishes. Following these developments, the Mary Cherry Chua case was revived, leading to the arrest of persons associated with it. This leads to the conclusion that Karen's grandpa did not do anything improper. The tragic events involving Mary Cherry Chua have now found closure as justice is rendered. Martinez befriends Karen the following day at school. The two escape the specters of Mary and Manzano by reading horror adventures side by side. Much obliged for bearing the terrors with us. If you made it through this video unscathed, hit that subscribe button and get ready for more terrifying content.